Come close now and listen. There is a story I want to tell you, one that has lived in my heart a long time. High above a great city, on a tall column, there stood a statue. They called him the Happy Prince. He was covered all over in thin leaves of fine gold. His eyes were two bright sapphires, blue as a clear winter sky, and at his sword's hilt there glowed a great red ruby, warm as an ember. Everyone admired him. Mothers pointed him out to their children. Counselors used him as an example. Be practical, they said to one another. Be useful. But what they meant, secretly, was be beautiful like him. Be untouched. Be above it all. And from up there, with his golden face turned toward the horizon, the Happy Prince looked out over everything. Over the wide streets and the narrow ones. Over the grand houses and the crumbling ones. He could see it all now. Every last bit of it. And what he saw made him weep now. It was late in the year. The kind of autumn that already smells of winter, when a small swallow came to rest at the prince's feet. His friends had flown south weeks ago, toward the warmth of Egypt. But this one had lingered too long over a love that came to nothing, as loves sometimes do. And now he was traveling alone, trying to catch up. He tucked his head under his wing, ready to sleep, when something cold and wet fell upon him. He looked up, then another drop, then another. How strange, he thought. There's not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are out and sharp as pins, and yet it is raining. Then he looked more carefully at the great statue above him and saw tears running down those golden cheeks in the moonlight, two silver lines, quiet and steady. Who are you? The little swallow asked. And the statue answered, very softly, the way someone speaks when they have been holding something heavy for a very long time. I am the Happy Prince. Then why do you weep? The swallow asked. I am quite wet, you know. The prince told him. Down in the city, in a small room by a cold window, a woman was sewing. She was making a gown for the queen's lady-in-waiting, embroidering passion flowers with trembling fingers. In the corner, her little boy lay sick with fever, crying out for oranges. There were no oranges. There was nothing, really, only the cold, and the work, and the worry. Little swallow, said the prince, will you take her the ruby from my sword hilt? My feet are fixed to this stone. I cannot move. The swallow hesitated. He was already so late. Egypt was waiting. The warm river, the great painted tombs, his friends in the reeds. But something in the prince's voice, something steady and full of love, moved him. He carried the ruby in his beak through the dark city. He laid it gently beside her thimble while she slept. Then he flew back, and the night felt warmer somehow, though it was not. Stay one more night, the prince asked the next evening. The swallow almost said no. He said yes. He was taken to a young man in a cold garret, a writer shivering over his desk, too proud to beg and too hungry to finish his work. The prince gave one of his sapphire eyes. The young man found it on his table in the morning and laughed with relief, though he did not know where it had come from. Stay one more night. The swallow stayed again. This time it was a little match girl, her matches scattered in the gutter, her hands red with cold, afraid to go home. The prince gave his other eye, and the sapphire light made her laugh and run home, happy. Now the prince was blind, and the swallow looked at him. This great gilded figure, now dark where his eyes had been, and and felt something he had not expected to feel. He could not leave. He would not leave. "I will stay with you, always," he said. "No, dear one," said the prince gently. "You will freeze." "Then I will freeze," said the swallow. Winter came hard and early that year. Snow filled the doorways. Ice crept along the gutters. The swallow grew thin, but he stayed, flying from the prince's shoulder to the streets below, carrying tiny pieces of gold leaf, one by one, to every hungry face he could find. A child eating a crust of bread, an old man sitting on a doorstep, a family crowded around a fire that was almost gone. Leaf by leaf, the prince gave himself away. His gold vanished, the bright gleam of him dulled to gray. He looked nothing like what he had been, nothing like the dazzling figure the city had admired. He was dull now, tarnished, common-looking, but those who received the gold, they were a little warmer, a little less alone. And each evening the swallow would come back and tell the prince what he had seen. Stories of small kindnesses, stories of hunger. The prince listened to everyone, and even though he could no longer see, something behind those hollow eyes still shone, quiet and steadfast as a candle in a window. But the cold had done its work. One morning, one gray, still morning, the swallow felt it, the great tiredness. He fluttered up to the prince's shoulder one last time and pressed his beak to the prince's cheek. "Goodbye, dear prince," he said. "Will you let me kiss your hand? I am glad you are going to Egypt at last, little swallow. You have stayed too long." "I am not going to Egypt," said the swallow, very quietly. "I am going somewhere farther than that. But it is not cold where I am going. Goodbye." And he kissed the prince's cheek and fell, gently, like a leaf, and lay still at the prince's feet. And then, a strange sound, a sharp crack, like ice splitting on a river. It was the prince's leaden heart. It had broken clean in two. Sit with that for a moment. A heart of lead breaking. Because lead does not break easily. It takes something immense to break lead. It takes love, real love, the kind that costs everything, to do that. In the morning, the mayor looked up and saw the statue. Dull, patchy, jewelless, its eyes gone dark, and declared it an eyesore. "Pull it down," he said. "It is no longer beautiful." And so they did. They melted the statue in a furnace, all except for the broken leaden heart, which would not melt. They threw it on a dust heap. The little swallow was thrown there too. Now, here is where the story turns warm again, and I want you to feel it. Far above all of that, in a place where the light is very clear, an angel was asked to bring the two most precious things from the city below. And the angel brought the leaden heart and the dead bird. "You have chosen well," said a voice full of warmth. "For in my garden of paradise, this little bird shall sing forevermore. And in my city of gold, the happy prince shall praise me." That is the end. And the beginning, too, if you think about it. Two broken things, found worthy. Two acts of love, remembered always. Sleep well now. The fire is still warm.